The universe has a strange way of bringing people together. Sometimes, the person you need most in your life appears when you least expect it, like during a thunderstorm at 2 a.m., soaking wet on your doorstep. If you're enjoying this unexpected journey of fate and second chances, hit that like button and subscribe to see more stories that remind us how life's most beautiful moments often begin with chaos. Rain hammered against the windows of Ethan Miller's modest suburban home, each drop a tiny percussion instrument in nature's midnight symphony. The 36-year-old single father ran his fingers through his disheveled dark hair, exhaustion etched into the lines around his eyes. The kitchen table before him was covered with spreadsheets, bills, mortgage payments, and the ever-growing expenses of raising an 8-year-old daughter alone. 3 years had passed since Melissa's death, but some nights, like tonight, the absence felt as fresh as yesterday. The house still creaked in all the same places, but without her laughter to fill the spaces between, each sound only emphasized the emptiness. Ethan glanced at the clock, 2:17 a.m. He should have been in bed hours ago. Emma had school tomorrow, and he had promised to help with her science project before dropping her off. Just as he began gathering the papers, a frantic knocking at the front door cut through the storm's white noise. His first instinct was to ignore it. Nothing good ever came knocking at this hour. But the pounding continued, more desperate with each strike. Cautiously approaching the door, Ethan peered through the peephole. A woman stood on his porch, completely drenched, her arms wrapped around herself in a futile attempt to find warmth. Her dark hair clung to her face in wet tendrils, and even through the distorted view, he could see she was shivering. Against his better judgment, he opened the door. "I'm so sorry," she said immediately, her voice barely audible above the storm. "My car broke down about half a mile back, and my phone died. Yours is the only house with lights on. Could I possibly use your phone to call for help?" She looked harmless enough, more miserable than threatening, but Ethan had Emma to think about. His daughter was sleeping upstairs, blissfully unaware of the stranger at their door. "Wait here," he said, leaving her on the porch while he retrieved his cell phone. When he returned, she looked even more pitiful, water dripping from her clothes onto his welcome mat. Something in her eyes, a mixture of embarrassment and genuine distress, made his resolve waver. "You can come in while you make the call," he offered, stepping aside. "But just to be clear, my daughter is asleep upstairs." The woman nodded gratefully, understanding his unspoken warning. "Thank you. I'm Olivia, by the way. Olivia Chen. I promise I'm not usually in the habit of disturbing strangers in the middle of the night." As she stepped into the light of his hallway, Ethan got his first proper look at her. Despite being soaked to the bone, there was something striking about her, warm brown eyes that crinkled slightly at the corners when she attempted a smile, high cheekbones, and an air of quiet dignity even in her current state. "Ethan Miller," he replied, handing her his phone. "The living room's through there. I'll get you a towel." When he returned with the towel, Olivia was ending her call, looking crestfallen. "Bad news?" he asked. "The earliest tow truck can't come until morning," she sighed, gratefully accepting the towel. "And apparently there are no available rideshare drivers in this area right now. I'm so sorry to impose, but would it be possible for me to wait here until morning? I can just sit in your living room. You won't even know I'm here." Every instinct told Ethan to say no. He didn't know this woman. But the storm outside had intensified, thunder now joining the relentless rain, and the thought of sending anyone back out into that seemed cruel. "Where were you headed?" he asked instead. "My sister's place in Mapleton. I was driving back from a conference in the city when my car started making this horrible noise. I managed to pull over before it died completely." Mapleton was at least 20 miles away. There was no way she could walk there, especially not in this weather. "Look," Ethan said after a moment's deliberation, "I have a guest room. You can stay the night and figure things out in the morning when the storm passes." Relief washed over Olivia's face. "Are you sure? I don't want to intrude." It's fine. I'd rather know you're safe than worry about you wandering around in this weather. He showed her to the guest room, provided a t-shirt and sweatpants that had once belonged to Melissa, something he chose not to mention, and pointed out the bathroom across the hall. "Thank you," Olivia said softly. "I don't know what I would have done if your lights hadn't been on." "Just get some rest," Ethan replied, suddenly uncomfortable with her gratitude. "We can sort everything out in the morning." Back in his own room, Ethan lay awake, questioning his decision. Had he been reckless, letting a stranger into his home where Emma slept? Or would he have been heartless to turn her away? The rhythm of the rain eventually lulled him into an uneasy sleep, his dreams filled with faceless figures knocking at his door. Morning arrived with surprising brightness, the storm having exhausted itself overnight. Ethan woke to the sound of laughter, Emma's familiar giggle accompanied by another voice. For a disorienting moment, he thought he was dreaming of Melissa again, but then reality rushed back. Olivia. The stranded woman from last night. He hurried downstairs to find Emma sitting at the kitchen counter, watching in fascination as Olivia flipped pancakes with expert precision. "Daddy!" Emma exclaimed when she saw him. "Miss Olivia is making pancakes shaped like animals. Look, this one's a turtle." Olivia turned, a slight blush coloring her cheeks. "I hope you don't mind. Emma woke up and found me in the kitchen. I thought I'd make breakfast as a thank you." She looked different in daylight, her dark hair now dry and falling in soft waves around her shoulders, Melissa's old clothes hanging loosely on her smaller frame. There was something both vulnerable and capable about her that caught Ethan off guard. "I don't mind," he said, surprised to find he meant it. "But you didn't have to do that." "I wanted to. It's the least I could do after you rescued me last night." Emma's eyes widened. "Daddy rescued you? Like a superhero?" Olivia smiled at the little girl, her expression warm. "Exactly like a superhero. I was caught in the storm, and your dad let me stay in your guest room." "Cool," Emma declared, clearly delighted by this development. "Are you going to stay for breakfast too?" "Actually," Olivia said, glancing at Ethan, "I need to figure out what to do about my car. But these pancakes are for both of you." Ethan found himself oddly disappointed at the thought of her leaving so soon. "Why don't you join us for breakfast first? Then I can drive you to your car and take a look at it. I'm not a mechanic, but I know the basics." The gratitude in Olivia's eyes made something shift in his chest, a rusty door opening after years of disuse. Over breakfast, Emma dominated the conversation, peppering Olivia with questions about everything from her favorite color, green, to whether she believed in dragons, absolutely. Olivia answered each question with genuine interest, never once speaking to Emma as if she were just a child. "Miss Olivia is a scientist, Daddy," Emma announced between bites of pancake. "She studies the ocean." "Marine biologist," Olivia clarified with a smile. "I was at a conference presenting my research on coral reef restoration." "That sounds fascinating," Ethan said, meaning it. "Is that what brought you to our neck of the woods?" "Partly. The conference was in the city, but my sister lives in Mapleton. I was planning to visit her for the weekend before heading back to the university." As they talked, Ethan found himself relaxing in a way he hadn't with anyone new in years. There was something refreshingly straightforward about Olivia, no hidden agendas, no pitying looks when Emma mentioned her mother was in heaven, just genuine conversation. After breakfast, Emma insisted on showing Olivia her science project, a meticulously constructed model of the solar system that Ethan had helped her build. "This is impressive," Olivia said, examining the planets. "You've even got the relative sizes pretty accurate." Emma beamed with pride. "Daddy helped me research everything. We worked on it for 2 whole weeks." "Your dad seems like he's pretty good at helping with homework," Olivia observed, glancing at Ethan with a smile that made him inexplicably nervous. "He's the best dad ever," Emma declared with the absolute certainty only an 8-year-old could muster. But he works too much, and Aunt Jenny says he needs to get back out there, whatever that means. Ethan felt heat rise to his face. Emma, why don't you go get ready for school? We need to leave soon. Once Emma had bounded upstairs, Ethan turned to Olivia with an apologetic expression. Sorry about that. My sister-in-law means well, but she has strong opinions about my social life, or lack thereof. No need to apologize, Olivia assured him. Emma's wonderful. You're doing an amazing job with her. The simple compliment hit Ethan harder than expected. How long had it been since someone had acknowledged the daily struggle of single parenthood? Not with pity, but with genuine appreciation? Thank you, he managed, suddenly finding it difficult to meet her eyes. We should probably get going if I'm going to drop you at your car before taking Emma to school. The drive to Olivia's stranded vehicle was filled with Emma's chatter from the back seat, saving them from any awkward silences. When they reached the car, a modest blue sedan pulled onto the shoulder of the road. Ethan insisted on taking a look under the hood. Alternator, he diagnosed after a brief inspection. You're going to need a tow truck and a mechanic. Olivia sighed, leaning against the car. That's what I was afraid of. I'll call the towing company again. I can drop you at your sister's after I take Emma to school, Ethan offered, surprising himself. It's not that far out of my way. You've already done so much, Olivia protested. I couldn't ask for more. You didn't ask. I offered. Ethan found himself smiling, a genuine smile that felt foreign on his face. Besides, Emma would be disappointed if she didn't get to say a proper goodbye. From the back seat, Emma nodded vigorously in agreement. After arranging for the tow truck, they dropped Emma at school, where she insisted on giving Olivia a hug before running off to join her friends. She's not usually that comfortable with strangers, Ethan commented as they pulled away from the school. She must really like you. The feeling is mutual, Olivia replied. She's a special kid. The drive to Mapleton was surprisingly comfortable. Conversation flowed easily between them, touching on everything from Olivia's research to Ethan's work as an architectural engineer. He found himself sharing more than he had intended, about his struggles balancing work and parenthood, about the community that had rallied around him after Melissa's death, about his fears that he wasn't enough for Emma. Single parenthood wasn't exactly in my life plan, he admitted as they neared Mapleton. Some days I feel like I'm failing her. From what I've seen, you're doing anything but failing, Olivia said gently. Emma is happy, secure, and curious about the world. That doesn't happen by accident. When they reached her sister's house, a charming bungalow with a riot of flowers in the front yard, Ethan felt an unexpected reluctance to say goodbye. Thank you again for everything, Olivia said, unbuckling her seatbelt. Not many people would have opened their door to a drowned rat in the middle of the night. I'm glad I did, Ethan replied honestly. It was nice meeting you, Olivia. She hesitated, then pulled a business card from her purse. My contact information. In case you ever want to. I don't know, talk about marine biology or something. Ethan accepted the card with a smile. Or something. As he drove away, he glanced in the rearview mirror to see Olivia still standing in the driveway, watching him go. Something about the image stayed with him all the way back to work, a possibility he hadn't considered in a very long time. The rest of the day passed in a blur of meetings and deadlines, but Ethan found his thoughts repeatedly drifting to warm brown eyes and pancakes shaped like turtles. By the time he picked Emma up from her after-school program, he had convinced himself that the connection he'd felt with Olivia was merely gratitude on her part and loneliness on his. Daddy, Emma said as they drove home, is Miss Olivia going to visit us again? The question caught him off guard. I don't think so, sweetheart. She lives far away, and she was only here because her car broke down. Emma's face fell. But I liked her. She knew all about the ocean and she didn't talk to me like I'm a baby. I liked her too, Ethan admitted softly. But sometimes people just pass through our lives briefly. That's sad, Emma declared with the blunt honesty of childhood. You smiled more this morning than you have in forever. The observation hit Ethan like a physical blow. Had he been so transparent? More importantly, had his daughter been quietly noting his unhappiness all this time? That evening, after Emma was asleep, Ethan found himself staring at Olivia's business card. Dr. Olivia Chen, Marine Biology Department. A simple email address and phone number. It would be so easy to reach out, to thank her again for the pancakes, to ask how her car repairs were going. But what was the point? They lived in different worlds. She was an accomplished academic with important research, he was a widowed father still struggling to find his footing. The chances of their paths crossing again were slim to none. With a sigh, he tucked the card into his wallet and tried to put Olivia Chen out of his mind. The next morning, Ethan's phone rang just as he was pouring Emma's cereal. His sister-in-law's name flashed on the screen. Jenny, he greeted, wedging the phone between his ear and shoulder as he continued breakfast preparations. What's up? Don't be mad, Jenny began, which immediately put Ethan on alert. Nothing good ever followed those words. What did you do? He asked warily. I may have set you up on a blind date for tonight. Ethan nearly dropped the milk carton. You did what? Before you say no, Jenny rushed on, hear me out. She's perfect for you. Smart, kind, great with kids. My colleague's sister. She's only in town for the weekend, and I promised I'd introduce you. Jenny, you know how I feel about this. I'm not ready to. It's been 3 years, Ethan, Jenny interrupted gently. Melissa would want you to be happy. She would want Emma to see you happy. The echo of Emma's words from yesterday, you smiled more this morning than you have in forever, resonated uncomfortably in his mind. I can't just leave Emma for some random date, he protested weakly. Already solved. Mom and Dad are thrilled to have Emma for a sleepover. They're planning to take her to that new animated movie she's been talking about. Ethan ran a hand through his hair in frustration. Jenny had clearly thought of everything. Where and when, he finally asked, knowing resistance was futile. Bellini's at 7. And Ethan? Wear that blue shirt Melissa always liked. The one that brings out your eyes. After hanging up, Ethan stared at his phone in disbelief. A blind date. His first date since Melissa. The thought made his stomach twist with a mixture of guilt and anxiety. Who was that, Daddy? Emma asked, climbing onto her chair at the kitchen table. Aunt Jenny. How would you feel about a sleepover with Grandma and Grandpa tonight? They want to take you to see that new movie about the talking animals. Emma's eyes lit up. Really? Can I go? Please. Her excitement only increased his guilt. Was he that obviously in need of a life beyond fatherhood that everyone, even his 8-year-old, was eager to push him toward it? Sure, sweetheart. I'll pack your overnight bag after breakfast. The rest of the day passed in a haze of anticipation and dread. Ethan found himself checking the clock repeatedly, watching the hours tick down to his first date in what felt like a lifetime. By the time he dropped Emma off at his in-laws' house, his nerves were stretched to breaking point. Have fun on your date, Daddy. Emma called as she skipped toward the front door, her overnight bag bouncing against her side. How did you? Ethan began, then shot an accusatory glance at his mother-in-law, who merely shrugged with an innocent smile. Good luck, she said, squeezing his arm. And remember to breathe. Back home, Ethan stood before his closet, staring at the blue button-down shirt Jenny had mentioned. Melissa had bought it for him for their last anniversary together. It makes your eyes look like the ocean, she had said, straightening his collar with a smile that still haunted his dreams. Wearing it felt both like a betrayal and a blessing, as if he were simultaneously moving on and carrying her with him. Finally, he pulled it on, paired it with dark jeans, and attempted to tame his hair into something presentable. The drive to Bellini's, a small Italian restaurant downtown that had been a favorite of his and Melissa's, was torture. Twice he nearly turned around, and once he actually pulled over to call Jenny and cancel. But something stopped him each time, perhaps the memory of Emma's observation about his smile, or maybe just the quiet acknowledgement that life couldn't remain on pause forever. Bellini's looked exactly as he remembered: warm lighting, exposed brick walls, the scent of garlic and fresh bread wafting through the air. The hostess led him to a table near the back, explaining that his date had called to say she was running a few minutes late. Ethan ordered a glass of wine to steady his nerves, trying not to think about the last time he'd sat at this very table, across from Melissa, celebrating their 10th anniversary just months before her diagnosis. He was so lost in memory that he didn't notice the woman approaching until she was standing beside the table. "Ethan?" The familiar voice jolted him back to the present. He looked up, and the world seemed to tilt on its axis. "Olivia?" She looked as shocked as he felt, her eyes wide with surprise. Gone was the drenched stranger from his doorstep. Tonight, Olivia wore a simple green dress that complemented her olive skin, her dark hair falling in loose waves around her shoulders. "You're my blind date?" she asked, a smile slowly spreading across her face. Ethan stood, nearly knocking over his wine glass in the process. Yes. Apparently. My sister-in-law Jenny set this up. And my sister May arranged it on my end, Olivia said, shaking her head in disbelief. She said her colleague's brother-in-law was perfect for me. I had no idea it was you. Is that okay? Ethan asked hesitantly, suddenly aware of how much he wanted her to say yes. Olivia's smile deepened, reaching her eyes. More than okay. I've been thinking about you and Emma since yesterday. I almost used that business card I gave you as an excuse to call. Relief washed over him as he pulled out her chair. I've been staring at your card, trying to come up with a reason to contact you that wouldn't seem desperate. And here we